Okay, yeah, what are we looking at? Are we looking at?
Are we looking here or there?
You're looking at the prompter.
The prompter has the PowerPoint on it. Good evening, HISD families, and welcome to the first installment of Partnering to Protect Our Children, a town hall series spotlighting the work HISD does to keep your children safe and healthy while they're at school. I am Alexandra Elizondo, Chief of Public Affairs and Communications for HISD. This evening I'm joined by Shamara Garner, Chief of HISD's Police Department, and Craig Straw, HISD's Director of Safety and Emergency Management. Many thanks to both of you for joining me and for joining all our families tuning in from home. It's been a challenging few weeks for HISD, and several campuses have experienced online threats or other threats, and we know that weapons have been found on a few of our campuses as well. That's the main reason why we wanted to start with this topic at our first Town Hall series. But before we dive into the many things HISD is doing to help keep our children safe, Chief Garner, I'd love for you to share some about your background and your experience prior to HISD.
Absolutely, and thank you for the opportunity to share. This is my 30th year in law enforcement. Prior to joining HISD, I was a police officer with the Houston Police Department. I retired as a lieutenant. The majority of my career was in criminal investigation, focusing on physical and sexual abuse of children, which obviously was a good segue into HISD Police Department. I am a wife of a law enforcement officer and the mother of one son. Also a HISD product. I graduated from high school for health profession, now known as DeBakey. That's another story about why I transitioned from medicine to law enforcement.
Well, we are glad that you made that transition, and you are the person at the top of the team keeping our students safe. Now that people know a little bit about you and your qualifications, can you give them an overview of what the district does to keep our students and staff safe, and what parents should know about how we respond to incidents like the ones they've heard about this week?
Gladly. At HISD, the safety and security of our students, our staff, and our community is my top priority. Our approach to safety is comprehensive and it's layered. We are a team that includes campus officers, patrol officers, criminal investigators, as well as our external partners like the Houston Police Department and other local and federal agencies. We also have our safety and emergency management team, and we work with the district's crisis response and behavioral support team. We're all working to protect and support every HISD student every day. I know as a nation, families are worried about their children's safety when they are in school. Here in Houston, recent events such as weapons on campus, threats on social media have caused concern. I'm here to assure you that we share your concern and we take these issues very seriously.
Can you now go on to tell us more about the layered approach HISD takes to keeping children safe?
I can break that approach down into different categories. First category being physical safety measures. Again, as I referenced, we have our police officers assigned to either campus or operations or criminal investigations, in addition to the partnership with our external partners. Also, in ensuring the physical safety, we want to make sure that our campuses are adhering to making sure that we are utilizing a single point of access as it pertains to visitor management. And as a district, we also engage in what is called crime prevention through environmental design. In other words, that focuses on our fencing, our surveillance cameras, and etc. Another layer as it pertains to physical safety is conducting safety drills. Another component of the layering is technology and communication. The district has a silent panic alarm threat mechanism. It is our Raptor application. one in which can be applied on someone's cell phone, on district desktops, and it provides a mechanism for teachers and staff to dial 911 in a silent panic mode apparatus. Also, as it pertains to communication and technology, we have our anonymous tip lines. Also, campuses do have the ability, per district policy, to warn students after violence has occurred on their campuses. In terms of communication, as most of the parents are aware, we use school messenger to make sure that we are communicating accurate information as soon as we can. Another layer speaks to behavioral intervention. Like I said earlier, we work with our crisis response team and our behavior support team, making sure that if there are any behavioral issues that they are addressed. Also, as it pertains to that layering, we also engage in making sure that we engage with students in a culturally responsive way and ensure that emotional learning occurs in a safe environment. Another layer of protection is prevention and preparation. As I referenced earlier, and Mr. Straw can attest to, we engage in our safety drills, and we establish clear policies as it pertains to bullying and violence. One of the most important layers of our approach is parent and community involvement.
Thank you so much for that overview. And as the head of communications for HISD, I would like to remind parents that when there is an incident happening on campus or a threat on campus, your source of truth should be the school messenger system Chief Garner mentioned. That is where the district and the school is going to be providing you with the most up-to-date information that you can count on as factual about the event on campus. Next, I'd like to ask you, Chief Garner, a little bit from some of the questions families have put online. Sure. Families who may have experienced online threats or even a weapon on campus just feel really nervous about how the district responds to those events. Can you share more about what that response is?
The fact that weapons are found on campus speaks to really the effectiveness of that layered approach. Students feel comfortable enough to share that information either with a police officer or with a campus administrator. We purposely engage in relational policing, building relationships whereby students feel comfortable enough to share that information. Regardless of why a weapon was brought on campus, and students who are found to be in possession of a weapon will say anything from I'm being bullied or I'm experiencing issues going to and from school. There are more positive ways to address those issues, and it's important that students know that schools should be a safe haven. Guns are never acceptable and allowed on campus, and we will seek criminal prosecution when that occurs.
And can you speak a little bit about the district response to threats? A lot of communities are experiencing online threats. We've had a couple this week. What's your response as a police chief to how the district processes those?
Again, students may post threats thinking that it's a joke. They may use AI to simulate, holding a gun or making a threat. And sometimes threats are an outcry for help. Just like with a gun, there are more positive ways to receive help if help is needed. As with weapons, students need to know any threat created, posted that invokes fear is a crime. And again, we will seek criminal prosecution because it is imperative that we keep everyone safe.
Okay, thank you, Chief Garner. We're going to come back to you in a second, and I'm going to pivot now to Director Straw. Can you tell us a little bit about your background prior to coming to HISD, as well as your role in this new team that you lead?
Hi, thanks, Alex, for having me, first of all. So I'm Craig Straw. I'm the new Director of Safety and Emergency Management for Houston Independent School District. So prior to coming to Houston Independent School District, I was the Director of Safety and Emergency Management for Texas City Independent School District. I also served as the Director for Clear Creek Independent School District. Prior to getting into school safety and emergency management, I served 27 years in the United States Air Force, and I'm a retired Air Force combat veteran.
And can you share a little bit about this team that you run now?
So what HISD now is moving more towards an emergency management team, and that team works on being prepared, mitigative, preventive, responsive, and recover. We prepare for threats that are related to human-made, natural, and also technological. So you'll see us prep for things such as hurricane. We don't just solely focus on active shooter. We'll focus on hurricane. We focus on train derailment. We focus on pipeline explosions, all things that happen, unfortunately, in the United States. So things that happen naturally across the country.
And when a threat occurs on one of our campuses, what does your team do?
So when a threat occurs across one of our campuses, our team works hand in glove with the first responders. We provide them access to the building, provide them situational awareness, live camera views into the building. We actually train and work with the campuses for the students and the staff and teach them how to actually avoid, deny, or defend a threat inside of a campus. We respond to the campus with the first responders, and our role is if the campus becomes a location that is no longer safe or secure for the students and staff to be there, then our role is to start working on getting those students and staff to a more safe environment. Understanding that also when we have threats and incidents that occur out there, our emergency response team from the HISD Police Department adds that extra layer of security, and they're some of the first of our first responders to get to campus.
And how does your team usually become aware of a threat?
So in the state of Texas, under House Bill 3, every independent school district must adapt what's called silent panic alarm technology. HISD is decided to adapt Raptor Technologies as our form of silent panic alarm technology. So every teacher, every administrator on every campus has access to a device that sends a silent panic tone. That tone goes across the entire campus, and it also goes to key first responders in the district. It comes actually to an emergency operations center that's in daily operation, and it oversees every campus during school hours during class hours in HISD. Additionally, it comes to HISD's police department. It also has the ability to ring out to the Houston Police Department and some of our other law enforcement agencies.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. The next thing would really appreciate if you could talk about is parents have been seeing the words lockdown, secure mode, some other terms like that, and some of the messages that HISD sends out. Can you explain the difference between those terms?
So those terms, Alex, those are adapted from what we call the I Love You Guys Foundation. It's based out of Colorado. They are nationally notarized and accepted terms. Those terms have also been adapted by the Texas School Safety Center and vetted as a common, clear, precise language between students, staff, and first responders. When you hear the term lockdown, that means there's an actual possible threat physically inside of the campus. And the rule is lockdown, locks lights out of sight. The students move to a safe location. They clear the hallways, making it available, and they close the classroom doors and lock the classroom doors. Our classroom doors are always have the ability to not have a key. Teacher can pull that door and lock that door. And then what that does is allow only first responders inside and out of the building to come in and address whatever threat is inside of that campus. The other mode we have is what's called secure. Now, when we use a secure, we're using the physical design, as Chief talked about earlier, through our crime prevention, through environmental design, some facility hardening, things that we placed in each campus. And that means you have a threat outside. Sometimes a secure can be something as serious as a dog on a playground at an elementary campus. It can be a high-speed chase in the vicinity of the campus for someone who is near that campus. We use the physical barriers of the campus as a safe protection for our students and staff. Learning still continues inside of a secure. What it means is no one inside or outside the building until whatever threat or activity outside the building has been cleared. Another new method that we're using is what's called a hold. A hold in classroom may be something where someone's made a hoax and they think it's funny and they've called in a bomb threat. We want everyone to remain in safe place and quiet while first responders assess and vet the threat. We do a very deep search of the campus and its surrounding areas to determine whether or not there's any validity to the call. We also use that hold in the case where there may be a medical emergency, a student or a staff may be experiencing a medical emergency. We want the nurse to treat them, and it gives a clear, concise path for EMT to get to that person who's in that medical situation and get them the help they need.
Fantastic, thank you very much. What can families expect, and what should they do if they're notified that their campus is in lockdown or in secure mode?
So what we want families to do is to, as much as possible, we understand it's a natural instinct to want to get in touch with your student. It's a natural instinct to want to come to the campus. What we'd like you to do is to remain in place where you are. When you respond to the campus, a lot of times it creates traffic and barriers to first responders, and that delays their response to go in and address those concerns that are inside of the campus. We ask you to hold where you are. The district will make contact with you immediately once we get that particular threat neutralized and we're back to a safe environment where it's safe for you to approach the campus. Actually, we'll give you instructions on where you can go so that we can reunite you with your student or your staff member. But the most important thing is, please don't come to the campus. That creates another added layer of protection that the first responders have to provide to you while you're on the campus, while they're also trying to solve whatever the problem is inside the campus. We will make contact with you. Our commitment is to provide continuous updates to you throughout that process.
Thank you. That was a really clear and important update for our families to hear. Really appreciate the overview that you both provided on some of the big picture questions about how we're keeping our students safe. Now I'm going to pivot to some of the questions families submitted earlier this week when we announced that we would be having this town hall. So the first question submitted by a family member is, how does HISD PD work with other agencies, including local and federal agencies?
As I mentioned earlier, those partnerships are part of our strategic and layered approach. We train with other agencies. We also make sure that, again, when a situation occurs, we are able to communicate with each other, via our radios. We meet with each other. We engage in tabletop exercises with each other to prep and prepare for any type of incident that may occur.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is about procedures that are used to keep students and staff safe during an emergency. What are those procedures, and how do they really keep kids and staff safe? What's our belief in the validity of these procedures, I think, is the question behind the question. And why doesn't it make sense to just get everybody out of the school if there's an emergency?
Are we speaking in terms of like a bomb threat, or?
This is the question a family member submitted, so
Okay.
I think maybe you could do answers for a couple different scenarios potentially, but the question is, what are the procedures to keep our children safe in an emergency, and do they really keep kids safe? And there's a little cognitive dissonance between keeping them in the building versus letting them out in a time of emergency.
As it pertains to inside the building, as Mr. Straw alluded to earlier, the threat dictates the level of response. So how do we keep them safe in the building? If there's an internal threat, we go into lockdown. If there's a threat outside of the school, again, we're in a secure mode where we're using the facility as the barrier to keep others safe, to keep the students and staff safe. As it pertains to an evacuation, we assess what information we have. We use our training and our expertise. In terms of bomb threats, for instance, here recently throughout the nation, there have been various hoax occurring, swatting, if you will. And so best practice is shifting more towards assess the situation. We will utilize our bomb dogs to do interior and exterior sweeps. The thought behind keeping everyone in a hold pattern, as Mr. Straw alluded to earlier, helps keep kids safe until we assess it. Obviously, if there's a suspicious package or anything like that, the building will be evacuated. But if someone indeed wants to harm children, when we immediately go outside and we're exposing the children to potential danger, that's problematic. So again, we assess the situation, determine is it best to do a hold based on is the threat inside? Should we do a secure because the threat is outside? If it's related to a bomb, what do we know at hand? And we make the best decision based on the information we have. Again, all threats are taken seriously, and we work and adjust accordingly.
Okay, that's very helpful. I think that for families to know if the threat is outside of the building or the real or perceived danger, kids stay inside. If the perceived danger is inside, they stay in their classrooms until
Lockdown.
that lockdown can be lifted.
Yes.
Okay. The next question we have is there were several questions actually about some of the online threats and hoax that we've seen across the country, and in particular, way more than anybody wants to have seen here in Houston in the past couple of weeks. Several families want to know how HISD investigates these threats and if there are consequences for children who make the threats.
Absolutely. So I won't go into detail exactly how we investigate them. I will say that they are thoroughly investigated. I don't want to educate students of how to avoid being caught, but there are procedures and investigative tools we use to investigate these matters. What's most important as we're talking about this particular topic is whether the student meant to be funny or whether it's thought to be a hoax. If it invokes fear, it is a crime and it will be treated as such. Each are assigned to one of our criminal investigators to be worked with the intent of seeking criminal charges, and we take every single one seriously. So are there consequences? Absolutely. We will present the case to a district attorney, and the district attorney will deem whether or not we have probable cause or enough evidence to actually make an arrest. Whether that happens or not, administratively, there are consequences as well. And also a behavior threat assessment occurs also.
Can you explain what behavior threat assessment means?
Mr. Straw, would you mind?
So in the state of Texas, we've adopted what's called the behavioral threat assessment process. So as chief will always say, sometimes the kids may be funny, sometimes they think it's a hoax, sometimes a lot of these threats, Alex, are just actually a cry for help. So that may be a student that's in crisis and some sort of mental duress. They may have a dating issue, may have some home issues, and what they're really trying to do is cry out for help. What happens is we put that student with a counselor. That counselor runs a preset series of questions that has been vetted by the National Threat Assessment Center through the Secret Service, and it's also been vetted through several other agencies. So it's just basically looking at their intent, their ability to carry it out, and we try and narrow down where they are on a scale of the ability to carry out, the seriousness of it, and once that's been done, what we do is we case manage that student and get them the proper level of mental health or social emotional learning that they need to get them to a new normal and out of that crisis mode that they were in when they made that threat.
Thank you. That's really helpful context for our families. I'm going to switch gears a bit now and go to a different question. This family has a question about how police and other safety personnel are assigned to schools. Do you want to take that one, Chief?
Sure. If they're referring to, there's no specific, this officer goes to this particular campus. We utilize information as pertains to campus population to determine how many officers are assigned to the campus. Currently, every high school has at least 2 officers. Some high schools have 3. Every middle school has at least 1 officer, and some middle schools have 2.
Okay. So we have now a couple more questions. There's a number of questions about how classroom doors factor into student safety. And should they be locked all day when classes are going on, or is HISD's locked and open door policy something that you feel does the trick?
As police chief, I'm confident in our ability to keep kids safe. What's most important as we talk about doors is ensuring protocols that we already have, we are adhering to. Exterior doors, make sure that they are closed and locked. Adhering to our visitors' single point of access. And when visitors come to the front office, putting them through the Raptor system, whereby we know who they are, where they are going, and they can be monitored. If a classroom door is open, it is open, but it is in a locked mode or mechanism, whereby it only needs to be closed and it is automatically locked. In the event of a threat, open classroom doors are advantageous if a student is in the hallway, in the cafeteria, and needing to get to a classroom. That door is already open. The student can go into that classroom, the door closed, without any physical manipulation.
Okay, that makes sense. And then can you just, for clarification, our policy as a district is open and locked?
Open and locked, yes.
And that's what you were just speaking
Correct.
to. Okay, one final question. What should families do to get more information if they want to know specifically about what's happening at their school to keep their kids safe?
Speak with school administrators. Again, if it's a middle school and a high school, middle school or high school, campus officer is there to meet with parents. Events like this, we will do more of to share information. Utilizing the resources that the district has, be it school messenger, is also another tool. And just seeking information is a tool that can be used to help parents gain information.
Okay, and then I'm going to throw one more question at you, and then I think, Craig, it looked like you were about to jump in with something.
So I want to caveat on what
Okay.
you said. Community is really the key, is a missing key piece in a security. It's a holistic process. We believe in a village to raise a child, right? We want our parents to feel safe and secure in the community. But we also ask, as you're coming to the campuses, there are some pieces of information we by law just cannot share with you. There are also some pieces of information we're not going to share with you because we want to ensure the safety of the students and staff. So don't get frustrated with the staff. There are some things that they will share with you, and there's some things that they're not going to share with you. So we hope that as we build this relationship with the community through more of these events, we'll gain more trust and understanding of the processes and what we do.
Appreciate you adding that. Chief Garner, can you add a little bit about the security at the elementary campuses? You talked about officers being assigned at middle school and high schools, and I know our elementary families
Sure.
out there are probably wondering.
Absolutely. So our patrol operations that I mentioned that are 24 hours, they supplement the visibility and security at our elementaries. We are adding armed guards to our elementary schools as well. And also the external partners that I mentioned will drive around and increase visibility, be it HPD, Metro, our various precincts, and Harris County Sheriff's Office.
Fantastic. And then last question for both of you, and this maybe is just some advice or ask that you want to make to our families. The title of this series is Partnering Together to Keep Our Children Safe, and you've shared a lot about what we're doing as a district. What do you want to ask of parents and caregivers so they can play a role in helping keep our children safe at school too?
Be engaged. Have communication, open communication, often communication with their student to determine, here recently with these threats, speak with them and assess what's going on, what information that they have, encourage them to utilize either a tip line or speak with a principal or an officer or someone to share information. If the parent themselves have information, utilize the tip line as well. Also, speak with their children in terms of what to do and what not to do. Again, we've spoken earlier about online threats. Some may think it's a hoax or a joke. It's not funny, and parents need to help encourage and just open those just have that open dialogue to remind them to not engage in any activity that could cause them to become a subject of a criminal investigation.
Craig?
I think, it's like Chief said, we really, and one of the things I love about Chief is very big on community policing. If a community calls in, she's like, Craig, here's the call. Let's answer the community's call. We are here to partner with you, by, with, and through you. Our whole objective is safer, stronger every day, HISD, but we can't do it without you. Talk to your students. Do anonymous reporting. Let's get away from the thought that snitching, this thought about snitching. Let's look at reporting things within our communities being safe and being a brave act to do inside of our community. Remember, every day we're here as professionals trained and dedicated to the safety and security of your students and those staff members. As we're trying to do our best and work in those situations, give us the room and the opportunity to do our best every day. I guarantee you we're here with you every day, 24/7, 365. Chief and I are always linked. There's not anything that we miss. It comes to us and we always act upon it.
And may I add one more thing?
Yes.
And I'd like to say thank you, because the tips that we've received within the last few weeks helped bring about criminal prosecution on those cases. So it is working. We just have to remain vigilant and committed. So thank you.
Thank you both to your service to our city, to our children, to the district. And thank you, families, for tuning in to learn more about how we can work together to keep our children safe and healthy. We look forward to coming back to you next month with another edition of this series, and look forward to answering more of your questions then as well.